rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. Wow, I apologize for my tardiness in getting things started. You know, this was just one of those days that, unfortunately, what I did is I overextended myself, and so I was scrambling at the end. So, boy, anyway, all right, well, I am here now. Ooh, see, here, I didn't even get my drink prepared. I hadn't even got my drink fully prepared. I got the glass and I got the bottle, but I didn't have the whiskey in the glass. Yeah, I'm running behind. Anyway, all right, folks, let's go ahead and, and I just realized I don't even have my headline sponsor up yet. Oh, my goodness. Okay. There we go. All right. Let's go ahead and get things kicked off here. Tonight we have U.S. Abby Girl is up for tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. She's over there in the green room getting ready, getting herself all dolled up and ready to go. U.S. Abby Girl is up. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with U.S. Abby Girl as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And I thank you, U.S. Abby Girl, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, and, of course, drop it, attach it to an email and send it off to me. You can that email address that you send it to is fans at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will get you into the rotation. I have 22 of them now. I'd like to get 26 by the end of 2026. Yes, the new one. I didn't have a chance to prepare it for this evening, so the new one will be debuting on Monday, but I have 22 now, and I'd like 4 more to get 26 by the end of 2026. So if you would please do so, I would appreciate it. And if you can't get it emailed to me, then what you can do is you can, if the file's too big is what I mean. Yeah, what you can do at that point is you can drop it into one of those sharing sites like Drive, Google Drive, Dropbox, or Box, and you'll be able to send me a link. At that point, they can get you to generate a link, and they'll send you a link. They'll let you send it, and we'll get it into the program as quickly as possible. Like I said, I have 22 now. I no longer have 21. I'm even again. You guys know I love those even numbers. So I'm 22 now, and I'll get the new one debuted for Monday. If you do it on your phone, don't forget to use the share option, the S-H-A-R-E share option, and you can do that, and you'll get it sent off to me at fans at AmericanPerspective.online as well. All right, let's go ahead and kick off tonight's headline sponsor, which is, let's just do this. TheAmericanView.com. That's right, the Institute on the Constitution. You need to head on over to TheAmericanView.com. They have a 3-step plan to help join the mission to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education from a biblical worldview. First step, pray. That's pretty simple. I think most of us pray every day. If you don't, you should. And understand, too, prayer doesn't have to be like, get down on your knees kind of prayer. It can just be a simple conversation between you and God. At least that's in my belief and view. I don't have to necessarily, because God knows. God knows you. God knows me. So you don't necessarily have to kneel down in prayer, although kneeling down is shown in the Bible, to kneel down, but you don't have to all the time. I mean, you can just have a conversation with him. As long as he knows what's on your heart, which he does, you should be fine. So never forget to pray for your country at all. And by the way, if you go to theamericanview.com, and you can scroll down to the bottom of the page and you can sign up for daily prayers to be sent to your email inbox. Start praying with them. Second thing is you study. Well, what do you study? Well, you study the Constitution, you study history, you study the Bible, of course, but you study, and make sure that you study some more when you're done. And you can do that by going to theamericanview.com, click on the link to study, and you can start with the U.S. Constitution course. Now, how do you do that? Well, you come on over to theamericanview.com, and you get there, and you go to this form that's right above my head, right here. Go to the study, click on the study link, and it's right above right above my head here, and you start your constitutional journey. It is a 100% free online course. It's nationally recognized. There's 12 short lessons in this course, and all you need to do is provide your first name, last name, and your email, and they will email you the first lesson directly to your email box. And then what happens is after you finish that lesson, they'll send you another one next week, and then another one the week after, and then another one the week after that. And you'll get 12 of them. They're about 15, 20 minutes long. Really pretty simple to do. And you'll learn a lot about our Constitution and how it is connected to the biblical worldview that we do have. A lot of people believe that this country is a secular country. It is not. This country was founded on Judeo-Christian principles and values, and as John Adams is quoted as saying, the Constitution itself is only suitable for a moral and religious people. What do you think that means? It means that America is a religious country. Even though a lot of the leftist idiots out there want to make you think that it isn't, it is. And after you study, the next thing you do is you got to act. Well, you can act by going and continuing on that study course and taking some other courses, but you can also act by helping the Institute on the Constitution with their mission. You either become a member, donate, or even better yet, become an instructor. So go and become an instructor for them. And you can go to theamericanview.com and check out their instructor part, and you can take a look at how to become. They got this little video here, how to become an IOTC instructor. IOTC is Institute on the Constitution. Again, go to theamericanview.com, click on ACT, and you'll be able to find this page. And once you figure out how to become an instructor, order their instructor kit. It's chock full of all kinds of information for you. You order that instructor kit, and then you can also go and attend classes, but you can also become one of their certified instructors and start holding classes in your neck of the woods. Help spread the grassroots education on the U.S. Constitution by doing this. And then, of course, you can head on over to their shop, because not only can you pick up their instructor kits, you can also pick up my personal favorite when you head to the shop and you head on over here to the Legacy Library. That's this guy right up here in the corner, right above my head. Whoop, I cut my one finger off. right above my head here, the Legacy Library. And if you click on the Legacy Library, you'll be taken to this wonderful page where it has this fantastic keepsake. And by the way, there is one that comes in the instructor kit too. So that's even a further reason to go and get your instructor kit. But it's the leather-bound U.S. Constitution, which I am holding right here in my hand. This leather-bound U.S. Constitution is according to my Rumbler Whiskey Warriors, a sexy rounded corner book. And you can take a look and see it's got 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant. No cheap glue here, folks. They are stitched all the way through the leather and the pages contained within. It's got a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that if you have a problem with this book, you send it back to the manufacturer and they will either fix it or replace it for free. It is buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved, and my youngest whiskey warrior has confirmed that the information contained within will help you study for and achieve your civics badge in Scouts, as well as your civics exam, maybe even that naturalization test. Yeah, I bet you it'll do that too. Go to theamericanview.com, click on shop, then go to their Legacy Library and pick out the Leather Constitution book, and you'll be able to get yours today. And I, of course, thank the Institute on the Constitution for being a sponsor of the program. All right, first things first, I didn't forget, I'm not wearing his shirt, but I am wearing the Declaration of Independence shirt. I'm not wearing the Fat Paws, but happy heavenly birthday to Fat Paws. May you rest in peace, kind sir. And there we go. Happy heavenly birthday to you. We always try and remember our fallen whiskey warrior P1s. All right. Oh, and apparently, per my Whiskey Warrior G, the stitching on that book is inspired by the Singer Sewing Company and applied constitutionally to this pocket edition, meaning the Constitution. Oh boy. Anyway, and we got to get those quicker. Anyway, all righty. Okay, let's go ahead and start with none other than fan favorite. It is Saturday, you know. On this day in American history. Oh, and before I get into on this day, I got to show you what I'm drinking. I'm cheap. I jumped into the Buffalo Trace tonight again. I know. Usually I try to change it up, but hey, next Wednesday I've got a new one for you that we just picked up. I just didn't have time to unwrap it and get it in, but it is being drank out of the wonderful American Perspective logoed glass that was a gift by my Whiskey Warrior P1s. It is a sexy glass right here. And there is the stones, because of course it takes stones to drink with whiskey. So here we go. Gotta love that Buffalo Trace. Quick shout out to David Cheney over on Facebook. I've seen you a couple times. You're kind of alone over there. But David Cheney says, not only that, but the Constitution will make liberals cry. All right, let's get into the On This Day in American History. We read from the American Patriots Almanac, written by William J. Bennett and John T.E. Cribb. It is chock full of all kinds of information and factoids that makes up our great, fantastic country that we call home. Today, we're going to be talking about Washington's glasses. In early 1783, The infant United States faced a crisis. The Revolutionary War was practically over, but the Army had not been paid. Soldiers who had fought for years were in desperate need of money. Congress itself had no funds, and rumors spread that it would send the men home without pay. By mid-March, the threat of violence filled the air. Officers encamped at Newburgh, New York, talked of mutiny against the government. George Washington, realizing the country verged on disaster, sat at his desk on March 14th and wrote an address urging his men to have patience. The next day, when the general strode into the hall where his officers had gathered, a hush fell over the room. These men had come to love their commander-in-chief during the war, but now they looked at him with resentful eyes. Washington began to speak. He urged his men to have patience. He promised to do everything he could to secure their pay. He asked them to consider the safety of their new country and begged them not to, quote, open the floodgates of civil discord. He paused. His men stared uneasily. Washington produced a letter from a congressman explaining the difficulties the government faced. He started to read, stumbled over the words, stopped. Then he pulled from his pocket something the men had never seen him use before. Spectacles. In other words, glasses, for those of you that don't know. Gentlemen, you must pardon me, he said softly. I have grown gray in the service of my country and now find myself growing blind. The hardened soldiers fought back tears as they suddenly recalled Washington's own sacrifices. Later, when the general left the room, they voted to give Congress more time. As Thomas Jefferson later observed, the moderation and virtue of a single character probably prevented this revolution from being closed, as most others have been, by a subversion of that liberty it was intended to establish. And that is today's On This Day in American History. Folks, great moments are born from great opportunities. And simple actions can sometimes be the key to a success, but can also be the key to a failure. See, what a lot of you don't understand about George Washington is George Washington believed that if he were to show that he himself took the most risks, was able to do the most in terms of the war, that was the leadership that the men would need in order to follow him. There's stories of George Washington charging into battle on his horse, having bullets shot at him, having holes showing up in his coat because he was on the front lines, that he was in the battle itself, that he wasn't like what the British noblemen who were British officers were like. They held back and watched the field just like in a chess match or something like that. No, George Washington was in the thick of it. He was in the thick of the fray. And that was because he personally believed that was the way to leadership. Lead the men the way that you would want to be led. And there were often times that even if he did get hit, he wouldn't show any kind of weakness whatsoever. So for him to pull out those glasses in front of his men and to make a simple statement about the fact that he himself had lost at that critical moment was an amazing choice and an amazing action in order to steel the American patriots who had and warriors who were there because they were mad that they had not gotten paid as of yet. And it's things like that, moments like that, that make a difference in history. All right. Let's see. I already showed you that. I've done all of that. Okay. I think we're good. I think we're up on everything now. All right. So let's start talking. You remember last time I was telling you about this particular island that Iran had that held a large piece of its oil infrastructure in its grasp, and that as of so far in the Iran conflict, that it had not been attacked and touched. And I even suggested that it strategically might be the next step in what was going on in Iran. Because let's face it, Iran, according to the CENTCOM commanders, had over 5,500 targets eliminated, military targets eliminated under the last 12 or 14 days, whatever it's been. Well, the United States yesterday, according to Trump, had hit and, quote, obliterated, unquote, military targets on Iran's Karg Island. However, they left the oil infrastructure intact. Now, he did say, hey, you guys keep this up and we're going to take out that oil infrastructure. Now, he said that he decided not to destroy the oil infrastructure on the island for now. His announcement was on a Truth Social post yesterday. It said, moments ago, at my direction, the United States Central Command executed one of the most powerful bombing raids in the history of the Middle East and totally obliterated every military target on Iran's crown jewel, Karg Island. He said, our weapons are the most powerful and sophisticated that the world has ever known, but for reasons of decency, I have chosen not to wipe out the oil infrastructure on the island. Trump did warn that he was going to reconsider his decision to allow the oil infrastructure to remain intact if the Iranian regime or any other country does anything to interfere with the free and safe passage of ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Uncertainty has rocked the Middle East and markets since the United States and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury against the Iranian regime on February 28th. So, yeah. And by the way, Iran's military command had warned everybody March 11th that countries around the globe need to be prepared to pay a $200 a barrel for crude oil as it struck 3 commercial vessels that were near the strait. And keep in mind, the gas prices here in the United States, while they're still lower than what they were under Joe Biden and even under Obama, they have been increasing over the course of the last week and a half or so. But the Trump administration, of course, is working to stabilize gas prices as it is sending more troops and warships into the Middle East. Now, the average price of a gallon of regular gas was $3.63 on March 13th, it was yesterday, which is up more than 60 cents from the previous month, according to AAA. Now, something that a lot of people are starting to notice is that even before the U.S. and Israel struck Iran, gas prices were starting to rise anyway, mainly due to the fact of the switchover, which a lot of people seem to forget. The switchover from the fall and winter blend over to the spring and summer blend. It always happens this time of year. So how much specifically is due to the Iran conflict, or how much is actually due to just standard market changeover? Nobody I've been able to see has been able to figure that out. But all of that being said, this isle, Karg Island, is the main port for Iran. And considering the fact that they hit all of the military targets there, the question is going to be, with the addition of all of the land troops, you know, the Marines that are going over there, whether or not that might be their target. Now, 90% of Iran's oil exports are loaded from facilities there into super tankers. They can reportedly load up to 10 at a time. Now, this island is about 300 miles north of the Hormuz Strait. Most of that comes out is shipped to Asia, with China being the biggest destination. You don't think that would be a strategic position for the Trump administration to go ahead and attack? Yes. I would imagine that it would. And that may be where they're headed. That may be what they're planning on doing, because it's Iran's crown jewel. Now, it's an 8 square mile island, 16 miles from Iran's Persian Gulf coast. So, And by the way, a retired U.S. Navy captain named Stu, oh God, I'm going to mincemeat this pronunciation. CVRK is how it's spelled. Skverk. Anyway, he's an Epoch Times contributor where I'm getting this information from, and he says that he believes that Karg has been deliberately spared to limit any escalation. Because the U.S. strategic objective is to create the conditions for a counter-revolution in Iran, one that would oust the current leadership clique, as well as their supporting security and intelligence infrastructure. That means not providing any reasons the regime could use to convince the Iranian people to rally around it. Taking out Karg would do exactly that, because that would set their ability to export oil back for months or years. It would also send global oil prices skyrocketing, he said. Now, keep in mind, this is very simply the same kind of, shall we say, overall strategy that has been used in Venezuela. See, Venezuela, we didn't attack Venezuela. We attacked the leadership. We got rid of Maduro, and we now have, and many of his I may think a few of his higher-ups. But anyway, we now have a different regime, albeit a regime that was still friendly to Maduro, but perhaps a little smarter than what Maduro was in this particular case. So American companies, most notably Chevron, is headed back in there. And they helped develop, Chevron in particular, helped develop Venezuela's oil industry before it was nationalized when the socialists seized power in the 1990s. Now, the U.S.-based Amoco built and operated Karg Island's first oil terminals back in 1958. And then after the 1979 revolution, Iran seized Amoco's property on the island. So, now keep in mind, it is wrong to leave that island in the hands of the terrorist Iranian regime. And if we were to actually go there and take over the island, that would seriously hurt the regime. It would hurt Iran. It would hurt China and anybody else who gets their oil from Iran. So where do you think those Marines might be headed? I think it's a pretty good chance they may be headed for Karg Island. And now that the Navy, the Iranian Navy, has been pretty much disabled and obliterated, because this is an island 16 miles out off of the Iranian coastline, it's very well possible that, this could be taken, and especially with the obliteration of any military installations that are out there, we could be looking directly at this. So, also, too, you don't necessarily want to destroy all the infrastructure there because, let's face it, revenues from those exports, and keep in mind, it could be exported to the United States. The United States could take this and go, hey, you know what? We helped build this, and so now we're going to take a portion of it. We'll sell it back to you, but we'll buy it from you. But we'll take that money, we'll send it over there and help rebuild your country if you get rid of this people. Core, let's see, a guy by the name of Anders Core, who is a publisher at the Journal of Political Risk. He's also an Epoch Times contributor. He also noted that that taking over the island and revenue from those exports, where U.S. could actually tax the exports, could pay back the many victims of the regime, including those of Iran, Israel, and the U.S. It could help pay for the U.S. and allied military operations to free Iran, and it could also pay for Iranian civil groups that will hopefully democratize Iran. Now, keep in mind, this is the Forbidden Island. It basically, no civilians are allowed there. It's, the military itself is going on. Now, there are some analysts who are saying, no, leave that alone. But realistically, the possibility to assault and seize the island would be likely initiated by either the Navy SEALs or the Army Special Forces, such as Delta Force, followed by occupation by Army airborne troops, or bing, 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 Marines. Let's see, who is this guy? Brent Eastwood, who is a defense expert, author, and a former former Army infantry officer who serves as defense and national security editor for the group 1945. He says this is tailor-made for a group of SEAL Team 6 operators to be infiltrated by submarine or possibly airborne parachute operation with a halo, called a high-altitude, low-opening jump, possibly even both at once. And then once the shock troops seize the island, then sending in a battalion or two of Marines with an amphibious operation to hold the island for as long as possible. Now, both of them or that person individual is saying, well, you know, it might be difficult to seize it. We'll see. We'll see, but they've already been bombing the island. The infrastructure there is intact at the moment. So, yeah. Now, keep in mind that, tactically speaking, there were no Marine Expeditionary Forces near Karg Island. The USS Tripoli and the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit has left Okinawa, headed for the Arabian Sea. Meanwhile, the amphibious assault ship USS Iwo Jima is stationed in the Caribbean as part of Operation Southern Sphere. Or Southern Spear, I should say. So we'll see what's happening, but So once that larger ground force, according to these analysts, secured the island, troops would likely be targeted by shore-based Iranian missiles, drones, and artillery, but this would be less of a risk due to American and Israeli air superiority and air cover, which, again, keep in mind, we've been taking that over. Slowly, bit by bit, we've been taking it over. And also, too, another analyst said that the seizure would be justified. It's Iran's oil export choke point, and the risk-reward ratio is minimal. The island would be relatively easy for the U.S. military to defend. So, yeah. It's interesting. Oh, another new development over there. The United States has now offered a $10 million reward and relocation for anyone who provides information on Iran's supreme leader and other top officials. The State Department has suggested that individuals who provide information could be eligible to move to the United States. The State Department announced yesterday with a reward of up to $10 million in potential relocation for any of the information that they can find on Iran's new supreme leader and 9 other top officials from the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Now, among those people who they are looking for is obviously Khamenei, the son and successor of the slain supreme leader, as well as Ali Larijani, who is the secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, and Ali Ashkar Hezjani, who is the deputy chief of staff in the supreme leader's office. The United States is also seeking information on the Iranian Interior Minister, Brigadier General Iskandar Momeni, Intelligence and Security Minister Ismail Khatlith, and Major General Yahya Rahim Safavi. God, I mincemeat those names. Anyway, he's the senior military advisor to the Iranian supreme leader, according to the State Department. Now, 4 other Iranian officials were also included on the list, but were not named. These individuals were identified only as their roles, such as the Secretary of Iran's Defense Council, the advisor to the Supreme Leader, Military Office Chief, and the IRGC Commander. According to the State Department's X account, these individuals command and direct various elements of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard, which plans, organizes, and executes terrorism around the world. The State Department also suggested that the individuals who who provide the information could also be eligible to move to the United States by saying, if you have information on these or other key IRGC leaders or its component branches, send it to us via our Tor-based tip line or on Signal. Your information could make you eligible for relocation and a reward. So they're now putting out money to go after these folks. I don't know if anybody remembers, but there was a deck of playing cards during the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War that had top leaders and officials on them. They were there, of course, to remind the troops of who were high-value targets. I could see them doing something like this as well pretty soon. Well, a lot of people and a lot of the left, honestly, have been talking about, oh, no, it's ground troops. When are the ground troops going? The ground troops are, oh, my gosh, we can't put ground troops down there. Yeah. Yes, we can. Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth has not ruled, neither one of them have ruled out ground troops. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think that they can rule out ground troops because the job isn't done. The job's not done. It needs to be completed. And they're not ruling out the fact that there is another objective that I don't think a lot of people are really paying attention to, and that is grabbing the uranium that the Iranian leaders had already told us that they had weapons grade. They had already gotten to weapons grade levels. I mean, if you recall, that was one of the first things that the Iranian leaders did when they got with us and we started talking to them again. That was one of the things that we had stated and stipulated. Well, wait a minute, you guys have this uranium. You guys need to hand it over. We'll give you hand that over to us. We'll give you all of the commercial grade uranium that you can use. Every single one of them. And Iran said no. So having the idea of putting in ground troops to go and find this uranium that is reportedly around there, I see that as a safety net. So he kind of, Hegseth was asked about it and he sort of sidestepped the question. And the question that was asked by Wall Street Journal reporter Michael Gordon said, Iran is thought to have 440 kilograms of highly enriched uranium in at least 2 locations and several thousand kilograms of lower purity material. Can you conclude this mission successfully without physically taking control of that material? Or are you counting on diplomatic negotiations to provide some measure of control leading to its removal? Michael Gordon, who is the Wall Street Journal reporter, asked and said, you've mentioned missiles, you've mentioned drones, military industry. You haven't stipulated that taking care of that material is a mission priority. Hegseth responded, we've said from the beginning, denying Iran nuclear weapons is a core mission. We retain options across the spectrum to ensure that they never do. And President Trump has said that. And that's why this mission actually couldn't have been possible without Midnight Hammer. Midnight Hammer, as you recall, is the ones that was out there when we went and hit Fordham and a couple other places by those B-52s. Fort Al, Natanz, and Ishvan. Anyway. So, Hegseth did say, without what those B-2s did going across and obliterating those facilities, that set the condition for the opportunity to do what we're doing now. So the president's kept his eye focused on nuclear capabilities, and I will say we have a range of options up to and including Iran deciding that they will give those up, which of course we would welcome. They weren't willing to do it in the negotiations. And then he goes, and this is the truth, he's like, I would never tell this group or the world what we're willing to do or how far we're willing to go, but we have options. I don't get it. Why do these journalists seem to think that we're going to give up operational secrets or operational intentions or goals in these planning sessions or whatever, in these press releases? I don't get it. I really don't get it. Yeah. I don't understand why they seem to want to continue to ask questions. I mean, they can ask the question, but expecting an answer is ridiculous. Saying stuff like, oh, he sidestepped the question. Well, no kidding. He can't give out operational secrets. He's not going to sit there and say, okay, we're going to go and hit X, Y, and Z in the next 3 weeks. What do you think Iran's going to do? Iran's going to fortify X, Y, and Z. Now, they might do that as sort of a reverse psychology moment. But anyway. Yeah, I don't even understand why some of these people are just like, oh, yeah, you're going to tell us everything. No, they're not. And they don't have to. That's called OPSEC, Operational Security. All right. Okay. Let me go ahead and let's talk about this one. This is, you recall I told you here recently about this study that says if you drink 2 to 3 cups of coffee a day that there is evidence that shows that it staves off dementia. Well, I drink my coffee every single morning out of a 16-ounce cup that basically says, Father like no other, given to me by my kids on Father's Day some time ago, and I use it every single day, and I think of them every single day. And if you still haven't tried 1775 coffee, now is your shot. The 1775 starter kit is available, but there's only a small number of units. In each unit, you're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus with no crash, if that's what you're into. All of these coffees are single origin, small batch, toxin-free, and mold-free. Plus, you're also going to get the gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. You'll also be receiving a frother that is strong enough not only to stir up your coffee, but also your mother-in-law's opinions. And you'll receive a black 1775 tumbler to drink it out of. It's $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for just $99. And this is for the ones who have been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble and wondering if it's actually worth it. Well, there's a spoiler alert. It is. Go to the numbers 1775, the word coffee, altogether.com//studio. That's 1775coffee.com/studio, STUDIO, and grab your starter kit before they disappear. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio. That's 1775coffee.com/ which is your question mark key, studio, STUDIO, and grab your starter kit. 1775 coffee, perking you right into your day, according to Ms. T of Texas, one of my Whiskey Warrior P1s. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and get your starter kit today. All right. Well, we've focused, obviously, because, we're interested in what the U.S. is doing. We focused a lot on Iran. However, Iran's proxies, in particular Hezbollah and the Houthis and Hamas, well, they're targeting Israel. And as of right now, Hezbollah, which is in Lebanon, okay, have been firing rockets. In fact, I read a story the other day. I didn't bring it up on the show, but I read a story the other day that over 100 rockets were launched at once by Hezbollah into and toward Israel. Israel was able to get most of them, not all of them. Their Iron Dome, of course, was a little overwhelmed with the number of rockets fired simultaneously, and so I believe a couple got through. But that being said, Israel is now going after not only helping us against Iran, which is the base of the terrorist regimes in that neighborhood, meaning they're the ones that fund and train those other terrorist groups. But they are now preparing, apparently, a boots-on-the-ground invasion of Lebanon, the first one since 2 decades ago. Now, they invaded Lebanon back in 2006. And according to media reports, tanks and troops are gathering near Israel's northern border with the reported goal of seizing the part of Lebanon south of the Litani River and dismantling the military infrastructure of Iran-supported Hezbollah. Axios quoted as an unnamed senior Israeli military official as saying, "We are going to do what we did in Gaza," referring to the flattening of buildings. Now, the attack, of course, would widen the scope of the Iranian conflict and actions that started February 28th. And Axios was, of course, they broke the story based on commentary from both Israel and U.S. officials, as well as on-the-ground reporting. The information has since been confirmed and reported by other media, including the Jerusalem Post. So what we may be looking at here, folks, is a shift not only from Iran, as Iran, of course, recovers or attempts to recover from this massive attack performed mostly by Israeli and U.S. forces. But Israel, rightfully so, might be looking to also at the same time, while they have taken care of a lot of Hamas in the Gaza Strip, they may be looking to get rid of Hezbollah as much as they can, while the Iranians are being essentially pummeled and potentially even taking the island and Iran's money-making opportunities, essentially attempting to choke out the regime both militarily as well as monetarily. And this, honestly, would be a really, really good time to go ahead and do that. And that would be a very clear objective for both the U.S. and Israel in order to try and take care of, essentially take care of business over there. And as long as Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, etc., all of the other Arab nations that are over there are willing to support this effort, there should be no reason at this point for Israel not to go ahead and take advantage of this situation. Okay. Speaking of taking advantage, I have a public service announcement for all of you leftist idiots who may be watching this program, possibly on Facebook, possibly on X, definitely, possibly on YouTube. Because I know Rumble doesn't usually have leftist idiots watching. But one of the arguments that the leftist lunatics who say that they want to get out of America and they want to renounce their citizenship has been the cost of that and the trouble that it takes to renounce your American citizenship. Now, me personally, I'm like, hey, I'm on board with it. Go ahead, renounce your citizenship. Please renounce your citizenship and get the hell out of here. I would love it if that was the case. Well, the State Department, as noted in the New York Post, the State Department has now slashed roughly 80% of the fee to allow Americans to formally renounce their U.S. citizenship. So guess what? If you're a hardcore anti-American leftist ideologue who is a complete, utter, stupid moron, American hating, you've got your chance now. Instead of it paying or it costing you $2,350 to renounce your citizenship, guess what? You now can do it for just a low, low price of $450. That's right. You too, can get your ass out of this country because you hate it so damn much. As an American citizen, you can get your ass out of this country. You can renounce your citizenship, and it ain't going to cost you an arm and a leg anymore. You can go ahead and get out for just a small nominal fee of $450. And frankly, as far as I'm concerned, go. I'm sure there are a bunch of patriots who will probably get together and do like I don't know, one of them give, send, goes or GoFundMes or, help me retain or help me make kind of all kinds of money because I'm an idiot, whatever the service is, to get the hell out of here. And by the way, this new fee, it started yesterday. It was promised back in 2023, but was never implemented. Gee, I wonder what happened after that. And by the way, the cost is now the same as it was when the State Department first started charging Americans to formally renounce their citizenship back in 2010. So I'm done with you. You now have no excuse. You literally have no excuse. If you hate this country, so damn much, and you were looking at that fee and going, you know what? Yeah, I don't have, $2,400 to go and renounce my citizenship. You can now do it for $450. Now, keep in mind, renouncing your citizenship is still potentially an intensive and lengthy process. Applicants must repeatedly confirm in multiple written and verbal attestations to the State Department consular officer that they understand the implications of the step before being allowed to take a formal oath of renunciation. Now, all of that, of course, must be reviewed by the department. Now, the fee was originally raised from $450 to $2,350 in 2015 to cover the administrative expenses as the number of people wanting to renounce the citizenship surged, in part due to the new U.S. tax reporting requirements for American expatriates that angered so many. I'm trying to remember who was in charge. Who was in charge of the federal government back in 2015? Who was it? Who possibly could have made it harder and more expensive for you to renounce your citizenship and avoid taxes back in 2015? Trying to think. I'm thinking like really, really hard. I'm hoping that one of my fantastic, highly intelligent, the most intelligent listening audience in the ethosphere, those of you who are a Whiskey Warrior P1, would pop up out of nowhere and tell me who the hell was president back in 2015. Who was it? I'm trying to think. I'm fairly certain it wasn't a Republican. Oh, yeah, 2015. Who was that guy? Oh, yes, the great leftist messiah himself, known as Barack Hussein Obama. Obama made it harder for you to give up your citizenship. Obama, the leftist God King, and God, little g, the leftist God King that they still worship the ground that he frickin' walks on to this damn day. Yeah, he's the one that made it harder for you to leave. Oh, and avoid the taxes. Yeah. And who's fixing it? Oh, well, none other than the America First patriot, Donald John Trump. Yep, that's right. Now, keep in mind that dramatic fee increase drew significant opposition from groups such as the France-based Association of Accidental Americans, which represents people mainly living abroad whose U.S. citizenship is due purely to their having been born in the United States. Wait a minute. I see a tie here. Oh, my gosh. I see a tie between this and the idea of birthright citizenship as defined clearly in the Senate debates on the 14th Amendment. That being born within our borders is not something that automatically grants you citizenship. You mean to tell me that just because you're born within these borders, you don't have any mental, political nationalization tie to America? Oh, so maybe being an American citizen means that you must have more than just your physical presence within the border of the United States. Yeah. That association, by the way, according to this piece in the New York Post, filed several lawsuits challenging the constitutionality of the fee, including one that remains pending that argues that there should be no cost at all for renouncing one's citizenship. Now, the president, Fabien Lechargre, I'm just going to say it that way, Lehargre, or sorry, Lehagre is his name. He goes, the Association of Accidental Americans welcomes this decision, which acknowledges the necessity of making this fundamental right accessible to all. This victory is the direct result of 6 years of relentless legal action and advocacy. In court, the association said since the 2023 announcement that the fee would be reduced at least 8,755 Americans had paid their full $2,350 to renounce their citizenship. Hey, as far as I'm concerned, give it to them for free. Frickin' make them renounce their citizenship, and don't even give them like this. Oh, hey, you gotta repeat it over and over and over and over and over again to make sure that you're of sound mind and body. Hell no. Just basically ask them this simple question, in my opinion. Just simply ask them this question. Do you love America or do you not? And if they say no, then you say, sign here. Your citizenship is now renounced. Give me your passport. Give me your birth certificate. We'll give you a certificate that basically says just the date that you were born, not where, not your parentage, none of that. And just say, there you go. You're out the door. Throw it in a shredder, and that's it. As far as anybody is concerned, that person no longer exists as an American. You could even do like the movie Erasure style, type it into a computer, and then everything just sort of, pixelates and disappears as it goes away. How about that? If you hate America that much, seriously, if you hate America that much, get the hell out. What the hell are you here for? If you're sitting here protesting on the behalf of the Iranian regime, guess what? We'll pay for a first-class ticket, in my opinion. First-class ticket, not even first class. We'll put you in cattle class. Okay, we'll pay for your plane ticket to get the hell out and send you over to Iran. I'm done with these people. If you don't love America and you don't want to be here, don't be here. Leave. Go, please. Get the hell out. This is ridiculous. And this lowering of the fee, in my opinion, hey, this is a good first step and a good forward step for this crap. It's freaking ridiculous. Oh, clap the hands for the president of the United States to finally get that done. These idiots. I'm telling you, if you don't love America, get the hell out. Go away. Go. Just get out of here. We don't need you. We don't want you. And we certainly are definitely prepared to make sure that you get your ass onto a plane and get the hell out. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, all these idiot morons like Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens, they all talk about, all the anti-Semitism and everything else. Hey, as far as I'm concerned, load your asses onto a plane too. Send you on out. Because you obviously don't care about America. You definitely don't care about the principles and values of, honoring and living with your neighbors and others. I mean, seriously. Get your asses out of here too. You damn 80. Anyway, I can't even come up with any names. All right. Well, there's this saying from the international news. We're now coming back into the American news. There's this saying, and I don't think that anybody really on the leftist lunatics, I don't think they really understand the magnanimous meaning of this statement. The statement later basically is, don't mess with Texas. And as far as I'm concerned, don't mess with America either. But hey, if you want to start crap in Texas, go ahead. You're going to FA. You will, in Texas, FO. As the comedian Ron White started talking about, most states are attempting to abolish the death penalty. My state puts in an express lane. Yeah, you honestly, I mean, seriously, you can't go to Texas. You don't mess with those boys or those people. I'm just telling you, you just don't. You don't mess with Texas at all. Well, for the first time ever, the first time ever, a federal jury in Fort Worth, Texas, yesterday, found 9 defendants guilty of attacking the Prairieland ICE Detention Center last year. Now, these defendants are allegedly members of the left-wing group Antifa. I thought Antifa was just an idea. I didn't think that it was a physical group. I thought, according to the Penguin, it's no. It's just an idea. It's just a saying. It's not actually a physical group. Really? Not, huh? Well, right here, these 9 defendants, allegedly members of the left-wing group Antifa, and it is left-wing. Don't give me the shit about Antifa being anti-fascist, being a right-wing. No, it's left-wing. It's completely left-wing, and they're not anti-fascist. Their Antifa is bullcrap. Anyway, they were accused of using weapons and explosives at the facility, providing material support to terrorists, and attempting to murder an Alvarado police officer and unnamed correctional officers at the Texas facility back in July. The Justice Department identified the 9 defendants. I'm not going to read their names. 7 other people went ahead and pled guilty to 1 count of providing material support to these terrorists last year. Attorney General Pam Bondi said in a statement, Antifa is a domestic terrorist organization that has been allowed to flourish in Democrat-led cities, not under President Trump. Today's verdict on terrorism charges will not be the last, as the Trump administration systematically dismantles Antifa and finally halts their violence on America's streets. Good. See, people don't understand. Law and order, enforcing the law and restoring and instituting order is what America has always been about. See, we believe in law. We believe in things like principles, values, things like honor, courage, truth, justice, integrity, ethics, morals, standards, responsibility, accountability. These are words that we use as the backbone of our country, to borrow somewhat of a line from A Few Good Men. But anyway, FBI Director Kash Patel said, today, justice prevailed. Terrorists who target our agents will face the full force of federal law. We will continue dismantling violent extremist networks and the funding pipelines that support them. Now, here's the thing. Biden administration encouraged these idiots. The Biden administration and other Democratic leadership in Democrat states, they coddle these people. They coddle these organizations and these people. This is ridiculous. We need to get back to the point where the perpetrator is the one that is the problem. We need to get back to the point where the perpetrator is the one that gets blamed and is responsible. All right. Well, here at home, we're coming around to tax season. April 15th is approaching fast. But what is currently coming out and being presented is that, well, Trump was right once again. This is actually the same kind of philosophy that Ronald Reagan had, is that when you cut taxes and cut regulation, the country prospers. The American people prosper. And this is the case. Because according to reports that was released on Friday by the Bureau of Economic Analyses, Americans' disposable income surged in January as the Trump tax cuts began flowing through paychecks. boosting the personal savings rate, while consumers actually did hold back on spending. Disposable income rose nearly 1% in January, nearly triple the 0.3% gain recorded back in December. The jump reflected a sharp drop in personal current taxes, which fell by 3.2%, the largest monthly decline in the series in recent memory. And updated withholding tables incorporating the One Big Beautiful Bill took effect at the start of this year. The tax cut legislation signed by President Trump on July 4th back in 2025 introduced new deductions for tipped workers, overtime pay, car loan interest, and seniors. These benefits began showing up in workers' paychecks in January when employers applied the new IRS withholding tables for 2026. Now, personal savings rose, meaning grew, meaning got more of, to $1.05 trillion. And the personal saving rate climbed to 4.5%, up from 4.0% in each of the 3 preceding months. The increase suggests consumers banked much of their newfound after-tax income rather than spending it immediately. Real personal consumption expenditures rose just 0.1% in January, matching December's, what they call a tepid gain. But goods spending fell in real terms, down 4.4%, led by a $29.3 billion drop in motor vehicles and parts. Services spending provided the only bright spot, rising to 0.3%. So the inflation picture, of course, also offered little comfort. Even though inflation has remained fairly close to the same, the PCE price index rose 0.3% from December and was up 2.8% from a year earlier. Excluding food and energy, core PCE price index rose 0.4% for the month and 3.1% from a year ago, which is a tick higher than December's 3.0% year-over-year reading and well above the Federal Reserve's 2% target. But overall, personal income rose 0.4% in January. Compensation increased by $83.7 billion, led by $71.2 billion gains in wages and salaries. So in other words, Donald Trump comes into office, and now you're starting to see some of the effects of some of his policies, giving back taxes, reducing regulations. In this case, he's working on, the tariffs and everything else to replace the tax revenue lost with other revenues. And well, it's slowly getting better. You've got a little bit more money in your pocket. That's what this is all about. Well, speaking about all of the positives that President Trump has done, unfortunately, we do have the midterms coming up in November. And November, of course, the Democrats are pushing to hopefully retake the Senate, potentially the House. Now, they think they can get the House. They're still kind of questionable on the Senate. But these are the 10 Senate races that could possibly decide control of the Senate after the 2026 midterms. The Republicans are facing high hurdles as they defend their razor-thin control of Congress right now. And the Senate GOP campaign chair says that he remains incredibly optimistic that his party can not only hold, but also potentially expand its current 53-47 majority. Now, the NRSC chair told Fox News Digital in December of 2025 that in the battle for the majority, 54 is clearly within our grasp right now, but with a little bit of luck, 55 may be on their side. Now, I asked again a week ago, Scott, who is, by the way, Tim Scott, senator out of, I believe it's North Carolina. Anyway, he basically said that I think we have a possibility of more than 53 seats. Now, Kristen Gillibrand told Fox News in January that President Trump is creating a toxic agenda that is harming people, and she emphasized that she is optimistic that we have a shot to take back the majority. Now, here are some of the states where things could be decided. You have Maine, where Susan Collins, who is the only Republican senator running for re-election this year in that state. Now, Vice President Kamala Harris, of course, carried that state in 2024. Collins, by the way, has been seeing a deterioration of her poll numbers among the main polls for the last re-election 6 years ago. We have North Carolina with Senator Thom Tillis retiring. Democrats are hoping to take it over with two-term governor, take that seat over with two-term Governor Roy Cooper. Cooper enjoys tons of name ID in North Carolina and is 6-0 when running statewide races. Ohio has another major recruiting victory when they recruited former longtime Senator Sherrod Brown when he announced that he would challenge Republican Senator John Husted. Former Lieutenant Governor Husted was appointed to the Senate a year ago after then Senator J.D. Vance stepped down to serve as vice president. So they think that they're going to get that seat, the Democrats do. Now, Brown, of course, just to take him back, lost re-election in 2024 by roughly 4 points, while Trump carried Ohio by 11. We also have Alaska. Democrats were given a big boost in the red-leaning state when former Representative Mary Peltola, Peltola, however it's pronounced, announced in February that she would challenge GOP incumbent Senator Dan Sullivan. In Iowa, Republicans are defending an open seat in a one-time swing state that shifted to the right over the past decade, but the GOP has decided to rally around Representative Ashley Hinson, who is backed by Trump in the race to succeed the retiring Republican Senator Joni Ernst. Hinson, who is a former local TV news anchor who flipped a Democratic-held seat in 2020, is seen as a rising star of the Republican Party. Now, Texas, this one is really kind of bad. So Texas has, of course, John Cornyn in the middle of a competitive and combustible runoff battle against state Attorney General Ken Paxton. Trump to date has not said anything about it. He's been staying neutral in this runoff so far. And we all know Cornyn has stabbed Trump in the back, so I honestly don't think that Trump realistically is going to 100% back him, but you never know. Unfortunately, Paxton himself has political baggage. And if he actually wins the primary, well, there's a good possibility that Tallarico could step in over there. I hope not. But anyway. In Michigan, Republicans are optimistic that they can flip a seat in the Great Lakes battleground state where Democratic Senator Gary Peters is retiring. Now, the GOP has coalesced around former Representative Mike Rogers, who lost an extremely close Senate race in 2024, even though Trump won Michigan by 1 point. So the Democratic primary right now is a three-way race between center-left Haley Stevens, State Senator Mallory McMorrow, who is a self-described pragmatist, and progressive physician Abdul El Sayed, who is backed by Sanders. Then we have Georgia. Georgia has Senator John Ossoff as the most vulnerable Democratic senator seeking re-election in the midterms. Now, the aim, of course, is to paint Ossoff, who is the only Senate Democrat running for re-election in a state that Trump won in 2024, as a far-left progressive, but ousting him isn't going to be easy, according to this piece, in part because the senator's robust fundraising has built a massive war chest. Now, Republicans are in the middle of an ugly three-way in the primaries among Representatives Mike Collins and Buddy Carter and former University of Tennessee football coach Derek Dooley, who has the backing of the term-limited popular conservative Governor Brian Kemp. Trump has remained neutral in that primary. Republicans are hoping to flip the long-held Democratic seat in New England's only swing state, New Hampshire, thanks to the retirement of Senator Jeanine Shaheen, Shaheen, the first woman of the nation's history to be elected governor and senator. Now, most of the Democrats are rallying around four-term Representative Chris Pappas. There is a spirited primary on the Republican side, however, between two former senators seeking a return to Capitol Hill. Former Senator John Sununu, an older brother to the former Governor Chris Sununu, has the backing of the president. But Trump's first ambassador to New Zealand, former Senator Scott Brown, also remains in the race. And the Republicans are trying to break their 16-year losing streak there. In Minnesota, the retirement of Democrat Senator Tina Smith is giving the GOP hopes that they can flip that seat. They recruited they landed what they say is a top-tier recruiter in the former NBC sports reporter turned conservative pundit and activist, Michelle Tafoya. Tafoya is part of a crowded field that also includes 2024 Senate nominee Royce White, former NBA basketball player, retired Navy officer Tom Weller, 2022 GOP congressional nominee, former state senator David Hahn, and former Navy SEAL Adam Schwarz. That's Schwarz. Minnesota's Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, who is a progressive, is facing off against a more moderate Democrat representative, Angie Craig, who appears to have the backing of Chuck Schumer in that race. These are some key places that are really, really potentially a big challenge. And then, of course, in our final closing minutes, don't forget the fact that redistricting fights are continuing, and we're still waiting on that SCOTUS decision for Louisiana versus Calais as to whether or not race is going to be continued to be used in the gerrymandering redistricting. But here in Missouri, a judge has upheld the GOP redistricting plan. However, it still has to go into the Supreme Court. So keep in mind, we've seen redistricting battles play all the way across the country, whether it's Texas, California, Indiana, Virginia. On Thursday, the Missouri court upheld the state's 2025 congressional redistricting map, giving the state a GOP win for now. The ruling rejected claims that the map violates the Missouri Constitution compactness requirement, and Jackson County Circuit Court Judge Adam Kane declined to block the map. from being used in future elections, meaning that it remains in effect for now. So we're going to have to see in the Jackson County case styled Wise versus State, combined with another one, which was Healy versus State. The plaintiffs had argued that the new map fractures major population centers, particularly Kansas City. They contended that the districts were insufficiently compact, thus violating the Missouri Constitution's requirement that district be as compact as may be. We're going to have to see where some of this stuff goes. This redistricting stuff is really going to potentially make a difference. And keep in mind that Louisiana versus Calais, man, if that decision comes down on the idea that they don't need to consider race as a criterion for redistricting, whoa, that is going to cause all kinds of Democratic states to have to reshift everything. Alrighty, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget to give me those thumbs up, thumbs downs, or in the case of 3 Chevy, some sideways across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you on Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your weekend, and good night, everybody.